Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a ticking time bomb at the very heart of the global economy. We're talking about a scenario that could make the 2008 financial crisis look like a minor tremor.
Let's just kick things off with a question that really ought to be keeping strategists and world leaders up at night. What happens when the world's two most critical maritime arteries are severed at the exact same time?
Well, the answer, according to top strategists, is pretty chilling. The global economy doesn't just get disrupted, it breaks. And the scariest part? This is no longer just some hypothetical war game.
Okay, so let's break down this two-front crisis. We're talking about the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab al-Mandab Strait, two incredibly narrow waterways that literally hold the global economy in a chokehold.
So on one side, you have the Strait of Hormuz. A mind-boggling 20 million barrels of oil pass through there every single day, and it's now effectively under Iranian military control. Then, on the other side, you have the Bab al-Mandab, the gateway for another 8 to 9 million barrels. It's basically become a shooting gallery for Houthi militants. You put them together, and you have a catastrophic failure point for the entire world.
Right now, Hormuz is already a no-go zone for most commercial shipping. I mean, the waterway is mined, there were constant attacks and GPS jamming. Iran is even shaking down ships for million-dollar tolls. The final nail in the coffin? When war risk insurance got pulled. The world's plan A for oil transport is, for all intents and purposes, dead. But here's the thing. The world's backup plan, rerouting ships through the Red Sea, has a massive, fatal flaw. And that flaw has a name, the Houthi factor.
So how does this localized crisis cascade into a global catastrophe? Well, the answer lies in the simple and frankly terrifying arithmetic of what happens when that second choke point falls. The Houthis, who are a direct Iranian proxy, have already shown the world they can shut down the Red Sea on command. Their relentless campaign of over 100 attacks in 2023 and 24 sent a crystal-clear message to every shipping line out there: find another route or pay the price. When both of these choke points close, the global oil market doesn't just feel a little pinch, it suffers a massive hemorrhage. We're talking about nearly 29 million barrels of oil just vanishing from the market every single day. That's almost a third of all seaborne oil trade gone. This forces every single tanker, every container ship on this grueling detour all the way around Africa's Cape of Good Hope. That adds 10 to 14 days and thousands of miles to every voyage. Suddenly, the entire global supply chain is stretched to its absolute breaking point. And all that extra time on the water? Yeah, it comes with a hefty price tag. We're talking up to $1 million extra for a single ship on just one trip. But don't make the mistake of thinking these costs just stay with the shipping company. They get passed directly on to you and me in the form of higher prices for everything from gas to groceries. This chart really shows you the explosive impact on oil prices. Brent crude, which peaked at around $126 a barrel, with just Hormuz closed, could realistically surge past $200 a barrel in a dual closure scenario. I mean, we are talking about a price shock that would dwarf anything we've seen in recent memory. But here's the really critical point. This isn't just about cost. The global shipping system physically cannot handle this level of rerouting. There simply aren't enough ships, not enough slots at the ports, and not enough fuel to keep the world's economy running. The system just wasn't built for a crisis of this magnitude. And this is the point where the crisis spirals far, far beyond just the energy markets. The shockwave from these two choke points creates a devastating cascade effect across the entire global economy. The shockwave hits every single sector. Just-in-time supply chains for all the goods we buy, they collapse. The world faces a critical shortage of natural gas. And think about this: fertilizer. Gulf exports, which are vital for global agriculture, would just cease. This directly threatens the world's food supply and could cause prices to spike by up to 40%. We are looking at a full-blown food crisis. This brings us to this terrifying feedback loop that insiders call the insurance death spiral. As the risks go up, insurance costs soar. This forces ships onto fewer, supposedly safer routes, which of course then become prime targets. This drives costs even higher until insurance becomes unaffordable and global trade simply grinds to a halt. So you're probably wondering, what is the actual likelihood of this catastrophic scenario unfolding? Is this just some far-fetched nightmare, or is it a clear and present danger?
Well, according to a pretty sobering assessment from top analysts at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the odds of a dual choke point closure are between 25 and 35%. Let that sink in for a second. That's a 1 in 3 chance that this economic doomsday scenario becomes our reality. To put that in perspective, would you board a plane with a 1 in 3 chance of engine failure? Of course not. And yet, that's the risk the global economy is running right now, a 1 in 3 chance of an event that would trigger a global recession, a food crisis, and the worst disruption to trade since World War II. And make no mistake, this is not an idle threat. The Houthis have the proven capability, they have the advanced weaponry from Iran, they have the motivation to act, and they have the direct backing of Tehran, which can coordinate a simultaneous shutdown of both choke points. So the entire stability of the global economy now rests on a single strategic calculation being made in Tehran. If they decide that one closed choke point isn't enough leverage for them, the world has no backup plan. There is no plan C. The key takeaway here is this. The global markets are pricing in a disruption, not a catastrophe. They're preparing for a one choke point problem, not the two choke point nightmare we've just walked through. This is arguably the most dangerously underpriced risk in the entire world today. So we'll leave you with the one question that risk officers, CEOs, and world leaders should be asking themselves right now. What is your plan for when the unthinkable becomes reality?